All right, now let's talk about what you wrote recently about how the middle class are the ones getting squeezed by cost of living. I bang on about it every night. There will be a political moment for this, and we'll see. We'll see whether it becomes on Saturday or whether the people will take out a baseball bat at a different time. But that's it. The reality is that it is the middle class that's getting squeezed, and we need to talk about it, especially through the angle of people going to charities.
Yeah, exactly. So what's happening? Obviously, people, lower class, working class people on welfare already, they're the ones that are being absolutely smashed most of all. But what I wrote about on the weekend was this phenomenon that it just so happened. I went to a Centrelink office and chatted to some of the staff with the minister, just sort of off the record. But what they were saying was the exact same thing that I was hearing from Vinnies and the Salvos, which is that they are seeing clients come to them for help that they have never seen before. So instead of the same old, the usual people they're used to helping do a fantastic job getting back on their feet, they're actually seeing people who have never asked charities for help before, who just last month, thought they were a perfectly average renter or homeowner or whatever, and were now suddenly the money's just not there anymore. They've literally just run out, and it often coincides with things like relationship breakdown. But I remember years ago the Salvos telling me they had someone drive up in a Merc and ask for help because they had it on payments.
Yeah, correct.
They were keeping up appearances, and they actually didn't have the bottom had fallen out of their job, and they didn't know where else to go. So we're going to have hundreds of thousands more.
Also, and look, I made this point earlier in the week, Aaron, and I get it. This is one of those sort of electric fences that as soon as you piddle on it, you're going to get yourself in trouble. But, some water, please, because I've got a little leave, which is two things can be true at the same time, right? So I understand now, Anthony Albanese out there, you can have some Bushmasters, more money for Ukraine, $1 billion defence arrangement with Germany, $100 million connection to Vietnam for decarbonisation. But when you've got charities that are the ones who are doing the hard yards, right? Now, I don't understand why, if you can find $2 billion for the social housing stuff to maybe make its way towards state governments to maybe actually do something, why can't they release $1 billion and go to Salvos and Vinnies and Food Bank and Humpty Dumpty and all of these ones and give a one-off cash injection to the people that are actually on the front lines of the people who are doing everything they can to avoid pressure on the taxpayer?
Yeah, hand up on this one. I've never understood how they work out where the copious amounts of money that we've got go. And look, I'm very vocal on Ukraine and our support for Ukraine. I think we need to do more, and I think it, not so much as a let's help them while we suffer here. I think strategically, from a national security perspective, defending democracy, it is so crucial that we give a lot of money and a lot of weapons and we do more to help Ukraine. But some of the other stuff that we're spending money on right now, where people, as you say, Joe, it was a brilliant piece. I'm not so sure about the ending where I think you likened Bill Shorten to an angel or someone that was going to be somehow glorified in heaven, but very brilliant piece. But you're right, these are not people that we might have called dole bludgers 20 years ago or people who don't want to work. These are people in 4 or 5 people households where both mum and dad are working and they can't afford to pay their bills. I'm blessed. I earn well above average income. My mortgage is about to double. I'm going from a fixed rate and it's about to double. And that's going to be tough for me. I can't even imagine how tough it is for a lot of other people out there. So you're right. I honestly, Paul, don't understand why money goes to some things when really people that they're meant to serve, people who voted for them in particular, so many people voted for Albanese because he promised so many things. He promised at the core face to make their lives easier, to make cost of living cheaper. Nothing.
But
Nothing
also,
yet. In fact, it's gotten
but
worse.
also, sorry, Joe, I understand if they turn around and do the $1,000 check thing, I understand what the stimulatory effect of that is. But when you're sitting on a one-off surplus for all the different reasons, okay, you want to put 95% of that on paying off, but you've got an extra couple of billion. How do you not go?
But they have. Can I say in this is the one thing that you can $2 million. One thing that you can absolutely not hang around the government's neck. Now, this is something the government is actually doing Absolutely, all guns blazing. So I'll tell you a couple of things. I'll tell you what Vinnies and Salvos really want. They want that $10 billion housing future fund to pass, and they want the Greens, and for that matter the Coalition, but at least they're not hypocrites about it, but the Greens to bloody well put their money where their mouth is. They jump up and down and say that they're progressive, say they care about poor people. They don't. In fact, they're about a bunch of rich socialists, but screw them. They want the Greens to pass that, because even if it's not everything they want or everything they've asked for, it won't immediately solve all the need overnight. It's an incredibly good first step. So they are rapt about that, and I've spoken to homeless people themselves about that, and they are disgusted at the Greens, and they just cannot believe that they are blocking it. So the government has got a $10 billion fund then. It's put another $2 billion on. I mean, I can tell you what charities that work for the homeless want. They want homes. They want houses. That is the whole point. So the government is trying to provide that. It is being stymied in the upper house by the Greens. The Greens, you know, whether or not Bill Shorten's an angel, the Greens are definitely going to go to hell for this, and they will burn for eternity if they do not pass this. This is the most horrible thing you can do to the most vulnerable people in this country right at their greatest hour of need. So this is something the government's doing. And on that, the reason I referenced Bill Shorten, you know,
That's
angelic,
right, everyone turned off. Two people left.
but the reason why he's got right with God, if you like, is because, again, one of the things that Bill Shorten has done, and it got so little attention, even I didn't know about it, and I work in this sector, but he's actually hooked up
every day.
He's hooked up a Centrelink liaison officer whose sole job is to go around to all of these charities that work with the homeless people and help the homeless people who don't have the right documentation, don't have the right, don't have access to the internet, don't even necessarily have the literacy and numeracy skills to even be able to apply for welfare, apply for help, to help get them on things. So helping them get the help they need. And that is one of the really good proactive things that he's done. So they are doing stuff.